Why does Erika Kirk lie so much? Why is she caught in so many lies? Lies that are unimportant, lies that are trivial, lies that are silly, lies that are stupid, lies that no one can figure out. And it's driving you crazy. Is she a psychopath? Is she a pathological liar? Do these words even mean anything? Or does she possess a new form of lying that nobody's ever seen? Does she act in a way that is so different, so unique, so incredible that we've never seen this before? Because I submit to you, my friend, that there is nobody that we have ever seen, not even politicians. Politicians will lie about what they're going to do, how they like you, how they're going to not let you down. That's different. But this is somebody who is a fabulist, who comes up with fables and stories about what they've done and how God in spirit came to them and Isaiah in dreams. And also, this person does not understand, and I think Candace said it and others have said it as well, if you're going to be a good liar, you got to have a good memory. I mean, a great memory, or you've got to really know what your role is. It's like being remember the scene from Reservoir Dogs when he was trying to learn his lines, where he was from, what he did. You can't get caught up. When you say your family divorced at 4, you can't later say at 7. You can't say you were here at 3 when you weren't, and that you were Charles Barkley was your basketball coach. And don't be surprised if it's the little stupid lies like that. The one that, first of all, do you think we're not going to know this? Do you think we don't know time frames? So let's see if I can help. Because like I think I've told you before, I'm a former prosecutor. I've dealt with this a gazillion times in the past, and I've had clients and people, and we've done psych evals and everything, looking at perhaps maybe the I don't know, the insanity defense, or whether somebody is just somebody who is just, how do I say this, able to, who is competent, just plain old competency. Because there is something fascinating about the question that keeps appearing again and again and again throughout history and politics and entertainment, and even now. Why does Erika Kirk tell stories that completely are untethered from reality, that can be easily verified, and what's more, she doesn't seem to even care? Why does she insist on facts that can be contradicted by documents and by timelines and by this new thing, the online deep diver, who will sit there and they will pull out records like you didn't even know you had? They're like private investigators. Do you not know this? Previous statements and simple common sense, historical facts. In law and evidence, we say when you take judicial notice of something, when you say, for example, wait a minute, you're 93, that would have been Charles Barkley, and in 93, let the record, will the court please take judicial notice, and in 1993, Charles Barkley was with the Pistons, or wherever the hell he was, or the Olympic team, and you know there's some, she lies about things that are public record. And the temptation, my friend, to call such people, liars and leave it at that, it misses the point. Human behavior is rarely this simple, and especially in the case of Erika. And there are many forms of deception. And this is really interesting. Deception and self-deception. The ordinary liar knows the truth and intentionally conceals it. Okay? The compulsive liar lies reflexively. often about trivial matters, things that don't even matter, not necessarily to gain advantage, but because fabrication has become habitual. It's like patellar. It's like, reflex. They don't even know what they're doing. The pathological liar occupies an even stranger territory. This is weirdest. Psychologists have long debated whether pathological lying, as we call it, is a disorder in itself or merely a symptom, maybe, perhaps, of something deeper, a more complex pathology. In some cases, the liar may begin to believe his or her fantasies and stories after a while. And then fantasy slowly becomes memory. And imagination then becomes autobiography. And then they're unable to work themselves out of this, to disentangle themselves from the webs of lies used to deceive. The German psychiatrist, always got to have a German shrink, Anton Delbruck, coined the term, and I love this, pseudologia fantastica. And I'll give you a hand for it. Dr. Delbruck, good for you. Pseudologia fantastica. Pseudo, false, logia, words, false words, fantastica. I think you can figure that one out. This was in the 19th century, and it described individuals who construct elaborate labyrinths of dramatic and grandiose stories about themselves. And these stories are not always completely false. Rather, they're woven from fragments of truth that are kind of mixed with exaggeration and mixed with fable and imagination and wish fulfillment and hopes and delusion and maybe a little kind of some type of not a specter but a hallucination. Not an illusion, a hallucination. I mean, this really, this gets so deep, and truth invention, reality invention, and the teller becomes both the author and the audience, and they do it for themselves, and they don't recognize anymore just how frightening this is. They have no idea. They have no idea. And no matter how, right now as we speak, how many times have the passels, the cadres, the various consortia of truth seekers and deep divers, how many times has she been caught in a lie? How many times must she know she's been caught in a lie? How many times have somebody from TPUSA said, for the love of God, they keep catching you to stop saying this. You're getting this all wrong. You forget what you're saying. You didn't drink, you were around, you were single, you went home and read the Bible, and you never dated. I mean, just stop it. You've got to stop it. We're trying to help you. This is, I think, what they'd be saying. Erica, we're trying to help you because we need you to kind of be the fall guy. Because don't be surprised if they dump all kinds of some kind of financial shenanigans. And when the shit hits the fan, they say, well, don't look at me. Look at the CEO. And she says, but I didn't know anything about it. Well, you most certainly did. You kept telling everybody how you didn't have to wait, how you knew what you were doing. Remember during that lie? You see, sometimes with these people, and sometimes I suspect with Erica, the stories are heroic. This is a person who exaggerates, achievements in relationships or experiences. It's stolen valor. It's that same, either directly, it's an analog or an exact replica or simulacrum of stolen valor. And then sometimes they're tragic. The storyteller presents themselves as the victim of extraordinary circumstances. She's always lamenting and crying about how the devil is after her, and the devil took Charlie, and the devil went down to Georgia. Speaking of which, the devil, I wonder how that fiddle player Vance is doing. But I digress. And then at other times, sometimes the stories are, well, they seem almost cinematic. Populated by celebrities and famous acquaintances and improbable coincidences, moments of destiny. Does this sound familiar to you? And the question is not merely whether the stories are true. That's not it. The deeper question is this: why are they being told in the first place? Why is she doing this? Why? One possibility is conscious manipulation. Human beings, as you know, are social creatures, and stories are kind of currency. We buy and sell our worth by our grandiosity. And a compelling narrative, a really wild story, a great yarn, it generates maybe sympathy or admiration, attention, following, money, attraction. And in the age of social media, attention, let's say, itself has become a power. Think about how you'll always remember that the Rockefeller imposter, the imposters. We always see these stories. They're con men, and they just don't. The online Lotharios, the online it's really a sickness. And by the way, the temptation to embellish one's own life is greater than ever with these folks. I mean, everyone is curating an identity. But I know you don't do it. Listen, we may bullshit a little bit. We may exaggerate. We may have, in law, they call it puffery. When you go to a pizza joint, they say, you've tried the rest, now try the best. The best pizza. Is this really the best pizza? Well, it's not the best pizza. Well, why did you say it? Well, it's an expression. It's puffery. It's commercial bullshit. It's okay. But have you ever, just like stolen valor, these people, I won the Medal of Honor 3 times. What? They don't even know. They're not only are they bad liars, but there's no circuit breaker that makes them say, you got to stop this. But by the way, there's another possibility, one that perhaps is even more frightening. What if the storyteller, what if Erica, is not deliberately deceiving others? What if she's not deliberately fooling? What if she is deceiving herself? You see, we've done this before, and I've said this. Memory is not a video recording. Neuroscientists and psychologists have repeatedly demonstrated, and it's axiomatic, that memories are reconstructed every time we recall them. We forget details, we fill in the gaps, and we unconsciously edit our past to an extent, depending upon the amount of things that we have to tell, to fit our present understanding of ourselves. And oftentimes we will remember not necessarily the story, but we will remember what it was that we said. We remember the last story. And that's what's critical. Now, most people do this only slightly and occasionally. I mean, we're all maybe a little bit of, especially when you're younger and maybe you're out, you're trying to impress some chick, you might bend the truth a little bit. But you can't say, I'm an astronaut. Wait a minute, hold it. These people don't know. There's no circuit breaker. There's no breaks there. And some people do it constantly. An awkward childhood event becomes a formative trauma, something that forever changed the course of their life. A casual acquaintance becomes a lifelong friendship. A vague kind of a recollection becomes some life-changing, extraordinary experience. Over time, this repetition gives the story kind of heft and shape and solidity. And Erica begins to remember the story rather than the event. And she remembers the reaction she got last time when telling the story, not the event, which may not have ever occurred. This is why psychologists distinguish between lying and confabulation. Confabulation. Think fabula, like fabulist, conwid, kind of this concatenation, so to speak. Confabulation occurs when somebody creates false or distorted memories or recollections without a conscious intent to deceive. The stories may be wildly inaccurate, but the person relates them sincerely and confidently. they're not necessarily lying in the usual, in the ordinary sense. They're narrating a reality that exists inside their own mind. Remember, what's absent there is the intent to deceive. They're not doing this to deceive you. They're telling you this is what they believe happened. And if you're not there to tell, they'll still believe this. They didn't create this just for you. This is what they believe happened. There are also personality traits that may contribute to such behavior. And this is even more fascinating. Narcissistic personalities often create idealized versions of themselves, the way they wish they were. They may emphasize accomplishments and connections or hardships that reinforce kind of a desire, maybe self-image. Histrionic personalities, this is histrionic, exaggerated, may demonstrate and dramatize events. And what they do is they seek emotional intensity, validation. Borderline personalities, these are really interesting. It's such an innocuous name. Borderline. Borderline what? Borderline. When you hear borderline, run. Borderline personalities may experience unstable identities. Forget the memory, the identity. You see, as far as I know, I think Erica kind of knows who she is. She may be bullshitting about what she did, but she is. It's almost into the, I don't want to say three faces of Eve or Sybil or multiple personality, but that's kind of where we're going. These folks, this borderline can experience unstable identities, resulting in stories and narratives that shift dramatically over time. This is really scary. And by the way, none of this means a person is evil. There's that word again. No. Nor does it mean that they are mentally ill. I know. They're not hearing voices. They're not into the psychotic range. They're maybe neurotic as hell. Human beings are storytellers by nature. But there are more extreme possibilities. And this is the big dog. This is the one you've been waiting for. I know it. Psychopathy. The psychopath. Psychopathy, for example, involves traits such as, now let's go through this. Superficial charm? No. Manipulation? No. She's just telling you a story. Lack of remorse? Chronic dishonesty? Again, dishonesty not to deceive, but to promote her narrative. Now, popular culture, by the way, always portrays psychopaths as criminal masterminds, but in reality, many, and by the way, they're like less than, 10% of the population? In reality, they're simply very highly persuasive people who use stories as tools. That ain't. The psychopath lies strategically. The pathological liar, by the way, lies compulsively. And let me stop. Let me just explain this again. This is very, very important. Why? What is the intent? The psychopath lies, I guess that's the best way, strategically, through a strategy. That's the psychopath. The pathological liar lies compulsively. They can't help it. The psychopath can, but he's trying to get something. He's trying to get something from you. He's trying to get something. Trying to earn your trust for something, not just to impress. Pathological liar, which I think is more of her speed, it's compulsive. The confabulator lies almost unconsciously. A little bit of that. And sometimes, this is interesting, these categories overlap. And what makes Erica particularly fascinating is that her stories are not told in private. they're recorded, they're archived, they're replayed, you've got the receipts, and every interview becomes evidence, documented, memorialization. Every contradiction becomes searchable. Every little inconsistency invites scrutiny. And the internet has become, well, humanity's collective memory. And collective memory is unforgiving. And these teams, these passels of truth seekers and deep divers, members of Candace's army, they're at the ready as well. They're ninjas. They're memory ninjas, factual ninjas. And a public figure who once could reinvent themselves every few years now confronts really, and face it for the first time ever in history, an archive that remembers everything. Videos remain online forever. Old interviews resurface. Contradictions become compilations. Think of it as the best of. Nisi, I was watching, who was tremendous, putting together stories she told Charlie. And everything. We're watching this. It's like, my God. And what you're thinking is, could somebody be this much of a liar without being depraved? Maybe. But yet, interestingly enough, remarkably, some people continue telling stories that are difficult to reconcile in reality. Why? So why do they do this? Why? Maybe Erica, in Erica's case, maybe the stories satisfy some emotional need, something about herself, something that these stories satisfy. Maybe because the stories create her identity. Maybe because Erica genuinely remembers events differently than everyone else. Maybe she remembers Charles Barkley being her coach in wherever it was, Ohio. Or maybe because after years of performing a character, the distinction between performance and reality becomes impossible for her to maintain. See, this is one of the oldest themes in literature. Oscar Wilde, it was fantastic, observed that man is least himself when he speaks in his own person. Give him a mask, and he will tell you the truth. But what happens when the mask becomes the face? It's very interesting. What happens when Erica tells a story so often that it replaces whatever memory was itself? And at that point, you and me and others, face an impossible task. Are we witnessing deliberate deception? And this is what's critical. Are we watching somebody deliberately trying to deceive us, or are we watching psychological distress? Are we witnessing narcissism, fantasy, self-protection, or merely just the plain old ordinary human tendency to rewrite our own lives? This very dissatisfied young woman, this very, very disappointed little girl. Remember Angie Baby, Helen Reddy, living in a world of make-believe? Ask your parents. And nobody can know with certainty. I don't. I never talked to her. But the phenomenon itself deserves examination because it reveals something profound about human nature. We all create narratives. We all edit our past, and we all imagine ourselves a little braver, a little smarter, a little wiser, a little more important than we really are. And most of us keep these fantasies within bounds. Most of us do. And if you don't, but I've never seen anything like this. And when those stories collide with reality, the result can be, to put it mildly, bewildering, tragic, bizarre. And in her case, does she not realize that everybody's watching? Just go away. They'll forget about you. Every time she opens her mouth, every new interview, she provides more evidence. And maybe the greatest mystery may not be why she tells these stories, but the greatest mystery is how easily humans, all of us, can come to believe them. Because that's another thing too. What does it say about us? We mostly believe what most people say. We believe what people tell us. We don't necessarily disprove. We don't start off with the premise of, you're full of shit. No, we don't. And that's good, because we really should believe people. Because most people, believe it or not, are telling us the truth. Most people are not liars. Most people, they just tell you the truth. They tell you whatever it is. But this, I'm telling you right now, you go through anybody on TV, anybody from George Bush to Biden to even Hunter. Well, he's changed it anyway. To the Kardashians, to whatever. Go down the list. Nobody has taken lying and the recreation of reality and made it an art form like this. I thank you. What do you think? What do you think? Oh, I know your thoughts are great. Your thoughts, your comments are fantastic. So I've got some questions for you. So please do me a great favor. I ask you this favor. Please like this video. Subscribe. So many of our subscriptions, our subscribers, are unsubscribed for reasons I don't understand. They go back and they say, hey. That's what they say. They say, hey, I'm unsubscribed. So please do that. And also, please make sure you hit that little bell so you're notified of live streams and new videos. And whatever you do, my friend, tell me the truth and comment as you see fit.